I'm smashed right now. Pretty drunk with like crap ton of emotions gyrating about my head. My mind space is a concoction of fear and anger. For the past few hours, 4 hours, I've drank vodka and orange juice, vodka and cranberry juice, and finally vodka and grape juice. That's a load of screwdrivers, cosmopolitans, and whatever you call vodka and grape juice. Well, maybe I'll make up my own name. Crystal Room. Okay, that's dumb, but whatever. It's Crystal Room that's on my mind right now. So I had to drink myself sloppy, just had to have courage to tell you about my experience. I hope to get all the details straight and not to stray too far from the truth. In 2001, I went to New York City. Surprisingly, loved it. Except 2001, the partner and I went to New York City. Surprisingly, I loved it, except for my final days there. Surprisingly, I loved it, except for my final days there. A Southerner in New York. I got the worst asinine advice and general characterizations from my friends at work. One was, hey, don't stare at anybody on the subway. They don't like being stared at. Well, who does? I don't want to live in a city where people like being stared at. Like, it's just creepy otherwise. People were genuinely nice. I never had any issues with anyone on the subway, but then again, I didn't just sit there staring at people like they were exotic animals in the zoo. Next to the last day of our vacation, we visited Times Square. I was intrigued by the constant action, the incessant visual and auditory stimuli. There was so much to see and so much to hear. My mind was scattered, unable to focus. There were flashing lights, advertisements, constant blur, nameless faces, mindless crowds. I was enjoying it, but it was a little overwhelming. I asked my partner if we could go back to the hotel, but they weren't ready to end the day. So they assured me that they were quite capable of taking care of themselves. Honey, just go back to the hotel. I won't be much longer. I could take care of myself. You sure? I can tough it out. Oh, no. Please, I'll be fine. I walked to the nearest subway station, rode back to our hotel, which was at the end of the line in Flushing, Queens. When I got to our hotel, I slumped down in the bed and immediately fell asleep. I was exhausted. I woke up around 3 in the morning. The bed was empty beside me. I picked up my cell phone and I called them, but I got no answer. There was a text message. Honey, meet me at the Crystal Room. It's just down the street from the hotel. The time on the message was 2 a.m. I remember the place. It stood out among all the other crowded storefronts with a large neon sign of scantily dressed women holding a red rose. And what was my partner doing at a strip club? They were a regular churchgoer, never missing, always insisting I go with them. It just didn't seem right. I got dressed and hurried down to the club. I tried to bull my way through the bouncer, pushing me back, shoving this large open palm into my chest. No, only invited guests are allowed, they said. I got a text from my partner, they're inside. Oh, okay, well, come on in. We've been expecting you. The courteous welcome shocked me, considering that a moment before, he was ready to stomp me into the ground in a flash of a moment. I went from being a nuisance to a highly regarded guest of honor. I walked through the front door and into the past. Ooh, okay. It was an old-fashioned cabaret with the waitresses dressed in flapper beaded dresses and floral headbands. They were all wearing outlandishly large pearl necklaces. There's a pianist playing ragtime music with a boisterous horn ensemble. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and cheap perfume. My eyes were watering, but I felt eerily comfortable. Like this is where I truly belonged. On the center stage, dressed in a tight, short flapper dress, was my partner. They were dancing as if in a trance. This man walked up on stage and started kissing them. My partner seemed to be enjoying it immensely. I ran up to the front of the stage. Hey, whoa, back off, buddy. The man stopped, turned his gaze towards me, and smiled. His mouth, it was disgusting. It was full of yellow, jagged teeth encrusted with a thick layer of plaque. My partner looked at me and smiled, revealing a similar set of teeth, smaller, but no less hideous. I could no longer live a lie. I wanted my old life back, and I know you will too, they said to me. Let's get out of here. This isn't funny. I don't like this, I said. But baby, I do, they said. Two men grabbed me and dragged me to one of the back rooms. They pointed a gun at me and shoved me into a wooden chair. They turned the lights out and walked out of the room. I tried to run and grab the doorknob before they locked it, but I was too late. I heard a mechanical whirling, and a pink light overhead was turned on. I couldn't see where the light was coming from, whether it was a lamp or a fixture in the ceiling. It almost seemed mystical, coming from some unknown source. The room now looked like I was inside of a diamond with a rigid crystalline structure. There were 1,000 reflections of myself walking through the many faces of the crystal, independent of my own motions. They were alive in themselves, more than a mere reflection. One of them called out to me, "It's time to come back to your true self." They smiled with an impressive row of sharp teeth, more immaculate and more regal than what those groping strangers and my partner had. My reflection stepped out of the crystal and onto the plain hardwood floor, progressing slowly towards me with hands raised, nails of which were long and sharp. The closer he got, the paler the skin got, and they were dressed in a black suit with a collarless vest and a bow tie, and on their head was a straw boater hat. My reflection grabbed me by the throat, and their hand was cold, rigid when they touched me. I had a vision of a bygone life filled with murder and debauchery. I killed and I drank. I lapped up warm copper-tinged blood of many hapless victims. In my past life, I was a monster, a person who was willing to kill anyone, constantly thirsting for blood, never satisfied. You trapped me here, but I knew that my partner could never stay away. I knew the memories would come back, the thrill and the passion of it all would well up in their soul again. I fought back, pushing him away, but then they lounged at me and grabbed my wrist, bit into the side of my hand. I could feel the pressure of their mouth tighten as they sucked as much blood as they could, and the white skin began to fill with color, so I punched their head, knocking their hat to the ground. "That's a nice hat. Don't fight. I'm you. You are me. There's no escaping," they said. And then I noticed now that there are many different people or monsters in the crystals. They were no longer my own reflection. They all looked hideous and weak, trapped in purgatory by their own better selves. They lunged at me again, but this time they flew at my head first. Me head first. I dodged them as they came closer to the opposite wall of the crystal room. They yelled in exasperation, holding a hand out to avoid hitting their head against the wall. The hand was engulfed by the wall, submerged up to the elbow, and they laid on their stomach. "No, pull me out. Don't do this. Don't you want to be good again? The power. Power. I knew what I had to do at this point. They revealed too much. I put my hands on their butt and pushed the rest of their body through the crystalline wall, and they appeared on the other side of that crystal wall, banging with their fists and pleading to be let out. You jerk, you'll be back. You can try to deny what you are, but the thirst and hunger is always there. It might be very deep, but it's always there, and soon you'll miss your, or should I say, our partner. All around the room were trapped souls, damned vampiric souls waiting for their better halves to come to their senses and embrace the darkness that once was an innate part of their existence, boldly committing to the passion of murder and gluttony. And they were screeching and hollering for release. I wanted to get out of the room. Visions of who I used to be were displayed across the crystal. I remembered who I was and when I was born. It was over 100 years ago. I thirsted, I hungered, I killed and destroyed families, mostly preying on the weak. And then there was my partner, a murderer I fell in love with. I couldn't kill them. Even though my stomach felt empty and my hunger was uncontrollable, I bit them, but not to kill, only to bring them into my world to be with me forever. And they hated me for that. And then I found the rose crystal room. I wanted to give them back a normal existence. A killer felt guilty. We gave up the demons, but at a price. One day, we would have to come back and once again don the cloak of a murderer. But this time, in their service, obeying their every whim. The world needed balance, according to the proprietor of this fair saloon. It needed hunters to weed out the weak. I remembered now. They were known as the Scarlet Shepherd. And then the door opened. You're not quite ready, but you've had your time. I'm not erasing your memory. I'm not giving your partner back either. You belong to me, and I don't want it until you're ready. I looked up to see a thin man dressed in a red suit with a long black tie. He was wearing a black tweed cap and a chain with an upside-down cross. His goons grabbed me by the arms and dragged me out of the room and in front of my partner. There on the stage with was a homeless man, dressed in ragged clothes and smelling of liquor. My partner looked at me, smiled, and then buried their teeth in his neck. He struggled, but their grasp was too strong. They drank him dry. He collapsed to the floor. You made me, you love me, and I know one day you'll be back. I was thrown out on the streets, lonely, and without my partner. The shadow of my former self still lives. I left New York with new and old memories. Some I had hoped would never be discovered again. I drink to forget my sins, but mostly to forget my partner. I tell myself that I killed them years ago, that they never survived, and that I never really even loved them. But then again, I told you in the beginning that I didn't want to stray too far from the truth. And the truth is that I would kill 1,000,000 souls just to have my partner back.
Hello everyone, I'm Giggles, and thank you so much for listening to my narration. A quick shout out to all my patrons: Melissa Perez, Geek Sanctuary, Lawrence Wallen, Andreas Anderson London, Eric Cifuentes, Krzysztof Kozak-Slazak, Jesse Hartley, and Icy Narrates. If you want to become a patron today, you can check out the link in my description below. And as always, thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in the next video.